What's up, guys? This is Pastor John, and this is a very special edition of 5 Minute Fridays. So, on 5 Minute Fridays, I usually take a question from my Wednesday Instagram and Facebook question session, and I answer it. If you've been on 5 Minute Fridays before, you know the business. Today is a little different, and I must confess off the bat, this might not be a 5 Minute Friday. So a lot of things have been going on in our world recently. It feels like 2020 has been kind of a whirlwind of a bunch of stuff. We started out the year with a lot of situations going on, all of which you already know, so I'm not going to sit here and name them to you. And then this particular Wednesday, the world seemed to change. A man by the name of George Floyd, who at this point, if you don't know who he is, you might be living under a rock, in which case you wouldn't be watching this video anyway. A man by the name of George Floyd was brutally killed by 4 members of the Minnesota police. I remember hearing rumblings about this that Wednesday, not really knowing what is going on. As a pastor, I try to stay up with current events, but I must confess I barely watch the news. I get most of my news via email or internet. Nonetheless, I heard about what had happened, but it wasn't until a couple days later that I actually sat and watched the video. The video was brutal and horrible. And I watched the video that had all the different points of views. So I got to see everything that happened more or less, obviously from the perspective of what we were watching, and it wasn't good. And I will confess to you that on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, there was what was called Blackout Tuesday. And I intended to do this video on Blackout Tuesday. And then I struggled to find the right words of what I wanted to say. I felt like just putting up a black screen wasn't enough. And I'm not saying that those of you who did it didn't do enough. I'm saying that's how I felt. And this is a very personal situation. And I felt like it wasn't enough, and I wanted to do something else. I feel like I'm at my best when I'm in front of the camera talking to you guys, or when I'm interacting person to person, and so I felt like I need to do a video and talk about this. I'm going to be very transparent with you, and I try to always pride myself on being transparent and real. My first inclination was to do a video about how, yes, what happened to George Floyd was horrible. Yes, this police brutality needs to stop. Yes, Black Lives Matter. But I wanted to also talk about how all lives matter. And I'm very sincere with you. That was the point of the video I was going to do on Tuesday. I was going to talk about how all lives matter. And then Tuesday night, I saw something that kind of shook me. I read a post, and I can't tell you who posted it. I don't recall, and I'm sorry that I don't recall. But multiple people have shared it now on Instagram. And I read this post where it said, if you're a Christian and your natural inclination to answer Black Lives Matter is all lives matter, listen to this story from the Bible. And it talked about the parable that Jesus talks about with the shepherd and the 99 and the one being lost, and him leaving the 99 to go after the one. And it shook me so bad, because as a pastor, that is my life. My life is chasing after the one. And so I readily identified with what this person posted, and I understood for the first time why the hashtag Black Lives Matter mattered. Why it couldn't be all lives matter. And I understood for the first time that it's not that we're saying that the 99 lives don't matter. It's that in this moment, that one life matters. And so I confess to you, and I tell you this because I want you to realize that many of us are struggling with these same points. We want to support, we want to help out, but we feel the need to personalize, to add our own perspective to what we're saying. And we neglect the importance of the perspective of the people who are going through it. So I want to encourage you right now to put yourself in these families' shoes, to put yourself in the Afro-American community, the Black community, and think how they must feel. I read this story about how someone said how they didn't understand what it felt like to be scared of being pulled over the way some of the African-American community talks about. And I confess it's the same. When I get pulled over by the cops, I'm scared I'm gonna get a fat ticket, not that I'm gonna get shot or beat to death. I can't relate to that. But I can relate to pain, and I can relate to sorrow, and I know what hurt feels like. So I'm using my platform today to tell you, yes, Black lives matter, and they matter a lot. You are beautiful, and you are created in the image of the Creator, in the image of God Himself. So yes, your life matters. But I want to also caution all of those who are rising up in this movement. And just bear with me. Give me 2 more minutes or 3 more minutes, and I promise I'm gonna put my heart out there for you. As a pastor, there's this phenomenon that happens in church, and if you're part of a church congregation or a religious movement, you might be able to relate to this. There's this thing that happens where people commit to something. They get inspired by something, and they come out really motivated. You know, kind of like all of us on the 1st of January when we say, we're gonna go on a diet and lose all these pounds, and we're so motivated, so excited about all we're gonna do this year. And the 2nd of January comes and we're not as motivated as we were on the 1st. I'm worried. And I want to encourage you to remember how you feel today, and make sure that in a year from now, in 6 months from now, in 3 weeks from now, you still have that same energy to fight for people's rights, to fight for justice, to fight for the good of the people. Feel that same way. Because if after this week you went and protested and you had signs and you hashtagged the Jesus out of Black Lives Matter, but the next week you go back to normality, someone says a black joke or someone says a racist joke in your office and you laugh at it, nothing changed. You did nothing. But if this inspires you and moves you forward into provoking real change in your home, in your life, in your job, you might say, I don't have a platform big enough to make a difference. Yes, you do. You have a platform big enough to make a difference in your home. Don't tolerate things that you should not tolerate. Don't tolerate prejudice of any kind. Don't tolerate racism of any kind. Don't allow it in your home. And if you change your home, then you can change a community. Then you can change the world. But if this happens, where a week from now or 2 weeks from now, we forget who George Floyd is, and we ask Eric Garner who? See, I don't know if you recall that name, but Eric Garner, just a couple years ago, was slain by the police, and there was uproar and yelling about Black Lives Mattering and about I can't breathe. And here we are, 6 years later, I believe, confronting the same situation. That tells me that at some point we lost our focus and lost our motivation and forgot what we were fighting for. We forgot what we were fighting for. So I want to caution you to keep that same energy. Hashtag, keep that same energy. Otherwise, other people who have died, Black, Hispanic, Asian, white, of any denomination, all those people who have died brutally, unjustly who have died for nothing. If they didn't provoke change in you, then their lives, their deaths meant nothing. All this uproar would have meant nothing. So remember what you're fighting for. The Bible calls us to be the mouth of those who cannot speak and to fight for the rights of the poor and the impoverished. Martin Luther King said, "It's not the violence of a few who scares me. It is the silence of the many." Don't be silent. Whatever platform you have, use it. Use it. Try to provoke change in your community, in your home, in your family, in your job. Change yourself. And if you begin to change yourself, then around you, those people will change also. So I want to just push you into bringing about change. And then I want to encourage you. When you've changed the system for the betterment of what's going on with police brutality, find something else to fight for and keep fighting for that. Because we can make a difference and we should not be silent. And so allow me to end this video, and if you've lasted with me all this long, I'm so grateful. And usually I'd end this video by saying like, subscribe, share, all of that. Let me end this video a little differently. My name is Jonathan Vazquez. I'm the pastor of Mount Sinai Christian Church in Homestead, Florida. And I'm sending this message to tell you, Black Lives Matter.